A lot of soul.
This is Bass Talk Live. Your host, Mark Jeffries and Matt Pangrack. BTL is brought to you by Lowrance, Lew's, Strike King Lures, Bass Cat Boats, Ducket Fishing, Spro, AFCO, Big Bite Baits, Sunline, and TH Marine. BTL coming at you. Good Monday, everybody. Welcome once again to another edition of BTL Bass Talk Live, where we're going to talk bass fishing and anything else that we want to talk about. Matthew, an unbelievable day today, man.
You made it another year.
No, that has nothing to do with it. Do you not know what was announced this morning? World Impact.
I thought we weren't getting into politics.
It has nothing to do with politics.
What was announced this morning?
Have you been under a rock?
Apparently.
Do you know nothing about the COVID-19 vaccine?
No.
Do you ever listen to the news or watch the news at all?
Absolutely. Up until about 3 days ago. So if it's happened in the last 3 days.
Yeah, it happened this morning. It was announced this morning. Pfizer.
Oh, that's.
Do you know what Pfizer is?
Yeah, that's one of the world's leading whatever.
Yeah. Their clinical trial was 90% effective.
Shocking.
Which is just off the charts, man.
Cool. We have a lot to talk about in fishing.
That has a lot to do with fishing, dude.
As to what we're doing next year?
Yeah. Yeah. That is a massive impact on not only the fishing industry, but a lot of things. If everything comes to fruition, because of COVID-19, the fishing industry probably had one of the most successful years that they've had in the history of tackle sales.
Yeah, it was wild.
Because that was one of the few things that people could do, get outdoors, go fishing, social distance and everything. The stock market was up almost 6% in futures. I don't know what it opened at, but this is a game changer, dude. If everything comes to fruition, this is going to have an enormous impact on everything that we do going forward, man. And you knew nothing about it.
Did not. Like I said, it's happened in the last 3 days.
It's great news, though, man. And I just hope everything that we've been through as a nation and everything that the world has been through because of this, millions and millions of vaccines are ready to go.
There you go.
So it is what it is. All right, we've got a good show today. A lot to talk about. We're going to have Chris Jones on via the Sunline hotline here in about 10, 15 minutes. I want to let everybody know the shows the remainder of the week. A good one tomorrow. Brad is going to be back in studio. I was talking to him. He has a dentist appointment. So he was like, yeah, man, I could come in. His dentist appointment was at like 11. So it works out well. We're going to have him in studio along with the guy that absolutely destroyed the field at Lake Fork. We're going to have Patrick Walters.
Almost 30 pounds.
On
we'll
tomorrow.
Get into that.
We'll get into that in a minute. And then on Wednesday, we're going to have the man that got it done. He finished higher than 32nd place is what we calculated it out to be, that he had to finish above 32nd to capture the Elite Series Angler of the Year. And Mr. Clark Wendelin did that, and
barely.
He's got the trophy.
He's hanging on there on the final day. Guys were catching up behind him. He was struggling. You know, David Mullins was sitting there watching it to see.
Yeah, because he didn't make a cut.
For crazy. But we have had multiple anglers on. I mean, Matt Herron, one of them, when they went into that brutally fall stretch of let's see if I can remember it. Gunnersville,
Yeah.
Chickamauga, Santee, Cooper, and Lake Fork, which originally scheduled were all 100-plus pound potential. One of them came to fruition because of the COVID rescheduling, but they all turned into brutal fall grinds in the midst of turnover where limits and keepers were hard to come by.
Yeah.
And Matt Herron said, we're dealing with an animal in Clark Wendlandt here. And he stumbled a little bit. He had a couple days that really opened the door, but man, when it was all said and done, he got it. 3 Angler of the Year titles over on FLW, and now he's got one on the Elite Series, and has been doing it for 20-plus years.
Off the top of your head, who has an FLW Angler of the Year title and an Elite Series?
Off the top of my head, I know KVD does.
Yeah.
Does Greg Hackney? I can't open any more tabs. There are so many tournaments that were going on. I'm now double tabbed on my screen.
Off the top of my head, I think Hackney has done it. Could be wrong.
Because I remember trying to think that the only thing he hasn't done is win a classic.
That is correct.
Greg Hackney won the Forrest Wood Cup 2005 Angler of the Year on the Tackle Warehouse Pro Circuit.
Right.
So Greg Hackney, KVD.
I think that's it.
There's got to be one or two others. Maybe not.
Did Iaconelli ever win it
I don't think so.
on the FLW side?
Jay Yellis, did he? Jay Yellis might have.
Maybe. That's a great question.
Mike
though.
Iaconelli. Mike Iaconelli has only fished 3 full years of the circuit.
Huh.
It's very interesting. Let me see. We'll check one more. Jay Yellis. Has he's won one on Bass? Has he?
I don't think so.
I should know this more. Ken
Yeah.
Duke is. Well, I would say he's pulling his hair out, but
Yeah.
he won in 2007 on FLW. Yellis did. I don't know if he. I mean, I might just be thinking of the Classic win. Anyway,
Not sure on that. Anyway, yeah, but just an epic performance this year with a lot of adversity, and we'll have him on Wednesday to discuss his season and the stress level that he was going through at Chick.
Yeah.
One fish. One.
Yeah.
And
he
still managed.
Still pulled it out. Before we get too far, some crazy, it is pretty crazy that was going on. We're finishing up the season for the Toyota Series. Cody Huff, who, if that name sounds familiar, has been pretty dominant in college fishing. I guess Table Rock was brutally tough. They had a Toyota Series there, and you could not go down the bank and catch them. And what's the one thing you can typically do this time of year at Table Rock is throw an A-rig, throw a crankbait.
If it's cold enough.
There goes some V8 right there all over the desk.
You spilled it?
Yeah, but look, it's in a very neat circle.
Oh, jeez.
Well, we'll take care of that during the break. That's a cat-like reflexes. But anyway, that's his second Toyota Series win. And then this is flown under the radar, Mark.
Okay.
Keith Poche. He's got a jacked up Berkeley wrap truck with a 17.5-foot tin rig behind
I saw
it.
that.
And remember some of the stuff that he's been through. He dinged a prop up the Illinois River in the open, and he was late, or else he'd have a top 10 there. And he got DQ'd from one day of the tour pro circuit because his motor wasn't big enough.
Yeah.
But dude, this guy has, for the last couple years, and he's really been into this, jumping beaver dams, getting into backwater areas. He is the second coming of Steve Kennedy right now. He ran way up the Flint River all 3 days on Lake Seminole and wins that final one. After he ran in some crazy backwater stuff at Neely Henry and made a top 10. Keith Poche is changing the way the game is being played right now, and I think it has a lot to do with this fall schedule. Do you not? I mean, when will we have the opportunity where the lakes are fishing like crap? And what's one of the main rules you do when it's fishing like crap? You get as far away from it as you can.
Yeah.
And he's the only guy in a boat that's towing it around with that monster truck that's been able to do it. He's fishing everything. He's taking advantage of everything. And Keith Poche gets the W on Lake Seminole on that.
No, that's a great point, man.
Two other main events going on before we go back into everything that's been going on. The Bass Nation National Championship taking place at Pickwick this week. Little bit stingy from the guys that I've talked to. 3 guys there punch their ticket to the Classic. 1 guy punches his ticket to the Elite Series in 2021. And the All-American is taking place at Hartwell, which has absolutely been drilled for the past month. You take an Open, you take a BFL Regional, you take the Ray Scott, and now you've got the All-American.
Yeah. Yeah, it's
Dave
tough,
Rush
man.
fished that Ray Scott, and I was trying to find the results. I couldn't find the results on it. But he said, dude, he's like, these fish like know your lures by name. He's like, you will watch 3 and 4 pounders that are blowing up, follow your lure, and just like be like, not real, not real, not real, not real, not real. He said he put it on the head of 30 to 40, 3 to 4 pound fish, and not a single, like he's like, they're like eating blueback, blueback, blueback lure. Blueback, blueback, blueback lure. And he's like, they've seen it. There's been that many
I
guys
can see
chucking
that.
at him.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
anyway,
A lot of pressure, man.
that's all I got now. Now we can get back.
All right, I want to go back to Lake Fork. Now, did you watch any of this? And it was on ESPN too. I don't know if you realize that or not.
Yep. Yeah, for 3 hours live on the final day.
Yeah. So how much did you watch at day 3?
I did not watch a whole bunch live. What I did, and what Bass has been really good about recently, is they'll start putting up clips an hour or 2 after it happens on Instagram, on Facebook, on stuff like that. So I've watched a lot of the highlights, but I did not have a lot of opportunity to watch it all live. I watched a little bit of it.
It was pretty amazing, man. It really was.
He was kicking everyone's ass.
And how many jerk baits do you think are going to be thrown today on Lake Fork?
Today is probably pretty gnarly on Lake Fork. It's
Well, you
probably
never know,
just
man.
a tad windy.
Yeah. But if the conditions were okay and the wind wasn't blowing 20 to 30, you think there'd be a lot of jerk bait fishing.
Yes.
He had opened up a bunch of eyeballs to a different tactic that we've discussed on the show before, specifically KVD throwing a jerk bait through the entire year. But there was a very unique characteristic about what he was doing. Can you explain that in any way?
There he was looking at him.
Yeah,
He was scoping him.
he was.
He was scoping him and then getting him to react to the jerkbait.
He was.
Basically, here's the way I look at it. Everyone's like, oh, how could you do this? This has got to lead to some sort of, this isn't fair. How is it any different? All you're doing, and I'll get on my soapbox for a second. All you're doing, so for years, how have guys caught him in the late fall and winter on Table Rock? Before there was forward facing, before there was Lowrance or Garmin or any of these had forward facing sonar. How would guys catch them in the late fall and winter on Table Rock?
In the trees.
Doing what?
They're sitting there looking at him.
On 2D with the
Yeah.
jigging spoon.
Yeah.
And you pull your jigging spoon up and you see the fish follow it up and you drop it and then you jerk it up again.
Yeah.
And where are most of them hooked? They ain't hooked in the mouth. They're hooked around the head, outside. Some
Somewhere.
of them are in the mouth.
Yeah.
So how can you be like, oh, well, that's okay, but now just flip it and it's the same thing looking forward as it is looking down? Like you're like, oh, this is, you see what I'm saying? Mm-hmm. It's the same bite. It's just one you're looking out forward and the other you're looking straight down.
Yeah, that's a good argument. Yeah, it's a great argument. I don't have a problem with it. I don't object. I think what he did, it opened up a tremendous opportunity for people to catch more fish. And probably the most difficult fish to catch is what, Matthew?
A suspended fish.
Dead on.
Or a bass for me, depending on how well I'm fishing at the time.
Yeah. But what he did was amazing.
Yeah, and
It really was. And the discussion is going to take place for this entire period for people to discuss, okay, at the highest level, should the guys be allowed to use this technology?
I don't think that discussion's going to exist.
You want to bet?
How is it any different than the side imaging or any of that? Dude,
I'm
listen.
telling you. I am saying.
Patrick Walters, 104 pounds, 12 ounces.
Yeah.
Second place, Keith Combs, 30 pounds behind him.
Dude, I am not on the argument that this stuff should be banned. You know what? If you want to get better and you want to open up opportunities to catch more fish, then learn how to use it. The other thing is, And
Okay, well, Jeff Gustafson has AquaView and 360 on his boat. He's literally looking at him and could see everything that's down there, and he caught 3 pounds.
you know what, dude? You still got to catch him. Bottom line. No matter what you're using, you still got to catch him.
A ton of Garmin guys who had less than 10 pounds on Lake Fork.
What is the argument, though?
The argument is...
Not between us, because I agree with what you're saying. I think it's great for the industry. I think it's great for the electronic companies, be it the big 3.
Mm-hmm.
You know what? There is a massive competition going on now for those companies to come up with even better technology.
Yep.
It's the locator wars. It's a
trolling motor wars of 2 years ago.
It really is. And you know who's going to benefit from it?
Us.
As long as the price doesn't get so outrageous. I mean, think about the amount of money that was spent on the electronics on his boat. He had 3 up front, and he had 2 on the dash.
Yeah, well, he just won $125K.
That's not the statement or the question
No,
that I'm
yes,
asking you.
it's an investment.
How much is that? Give me an estimate.
3 in the back, 2 up front, you're looking at $20,000.
Just in electronics,
But
dude.
here's the thing. You don't have to buy it if you don't want to, just like I don't have to have shoes and a bowling ball and a bag and all the tape and all that stuff and a drill press like you do. When you get to that level and it makes sense and you can look at it as an investment, or you've made good life moves and you just want to have it and you can, there's no one saying that you have to have it, and you're looking at guys who have won without it too. And you're looking at guys who have it and still suck. I could name 10 people, I'd give them $20,000 worth of graphs on their boat, and I still wouldn't bet a nickel on them.
Still have to catch them. And you still have to identify where the fish are. Correct?
100%.
All right. Now, I was thinking about this. You know what the next big thing is? This is out there, dude. This is out there.
The next big thing?
Yeah.
What's that?
The entire time that I watched Patrick Walters, he was doing this.
Yeah. Looking down
right.
at his graph for those on...
His neck has to be sore, and we'll ask him that.
Oh, they already have those. They already have those.
I'm not...
telescoping mounts.
How far up does it go?
Dude, so my buddy Juice Newton, who likes to complain about how his shoulder from back in the football days and his neck from back in the baseball days, got an aluminum boat. He got it. He's like, this sucks looking down at it. Looks like he's at a standing computer desk. It comes up to his waist.
Who sells that?
I know they make a telescoping mount. I know they're available. The Bass Tank guys have them too. I mean, especially for like older guys and stuff. But I mean, it comes up. I mean, we basically don't fish out of the same boat anymore.
Yeah.
And I look over.
So
at
they
him
have
and
that already.
It looks like
Wow.
he's like at one of those like standing computer desk things, and he's got a screen right there in front of him. Yeah. I mean, you still have to kind of look down, but you're not like looking down.
But it telescopic.
Right. But here's the problem. How
Well,
often I hit the troll? I used to, before the Bass Cat, hit the trolling motor head a lot. You know, roll casting, moving around, stuff like that. It gets in the way for active tournament bass fishing. Now, if you're just sitting there scoping, then but it's hard to fish around that tall mount.
I want to see one. See if you can find it
I'll have
on the
them
web somewhere.
I'll have them send you a picture.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I mean, it also, you get a mount that tall and stuff, you're also running into, I mean, it's not going to survive a trip to Lake St. Clair for when you take out an Erie. It ain't gonna survive.
So when it goes down, it doesn't lock tight.
No, it does. It's just not a. I mean, the guys that have it. Look at like the guys in the Great Lakes and how all their stuff's bolted down now.
Yeah.
I mean, you can't really bolt it down that well. It's great if you're not.
Yeah.
If you have neck issues and crappie fish. It's impractical if you're an active tournament bass fisherman, my opinion.
So if the Bass Tank has it, have you ever fished in a boat that had one?
Yeah, Juices. It's amazing. It's nice. Now, screw that. Why are we doing the telescope? We got Google glasses. Why aren't we just having Bluetooth-linked glasses to where you're seeing in your glasses what's on the screen?
Yeah, I thought about that.
That's pretty easy to do. I think that's very doable. All you're doing is transferring what's on the screen to the glasses. You want to hit a waypoint, go up, touch your glasses. Now you're actually seeing whether it's your Lowrance 2D or your live sight or your live scope or anything.
The problem with that is you can't see what else is happening around you.
Well,
kind
hell,
of a
what else do you
safety
think?
factor.
What else do you think he's looking at? The guy's banging into stumps, his motor's up in the rocks. I mean, I've done it before. You go out with Sukup on the bass tank, and you're like, dude, like, you are in the rocks. And he's like, I don't care. I've got one out here. It's probably safer because you're actually able to kind of see what's going on.
Yeah, below the water. Not above the water, though. I mean, you could run into a boat. If you're sitting there chasing a school or chasing, 2 or 3 fish that are specifically...
Yeah, but you could do that on 2D, too, dropping a spoon on them. I mean, you just have to be aware of your surroundings. It's not hard. My my V8 on the desk is now separating.
Yeah, there's a bunch of shop towels over there in the bowling ball area. So
That's not a
just grab
very
one of those.
aesthetically pleasing look on the table right now, is it?
No, and I want to see how you're going to clean it up
I'm going to start from the edges. I'm going to work
without
around
making a mess on the glass. I mean, there's a mess on the glass
I'm gonna
already.
Trap it. It's a surprisingly thick. Is that called viscosity?
Thickness?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm surprised at the
That's in your-
viscosity of the V8.
That is in your gut right now, man.
Well, that's healthy stuff. I mean,
It
that's
is. No,
100%
it is.
vegetable juice
Yeah. A lot of
from
salt,
concentrate.
A lot of salt. That's a big issue with that.
It's got added ingredients whenever it says that, it's-
A lot of salt. All right, last question, and then we're going to take a break, come back with Chris Jones. Was that the most dominating performance in the history of the Elite Series? What Patrick Walters did?
bar none that I could think of. Here's what we'll do just to avoid this conversation. I'm going to take 5 fish era and then separate it from MLF because me and you had this conversation off air. I don't think
it's two different.
they're-
It's
that's why I
apples
said
and oranges.
They're
yeah.
not comparable.
Yeah.
So we're not even going to get into that.
Yeah.
Because there's been some pretty damn dominating performances over in the BP.
It's apples and oranges,
Like
though.
Jeffries,
It's
you
not-
said, like Edwin in the
Lucas
World Championship on the Mississippi River.
in that backwater area.
5 fish era, can anyone, I mean, that's a Ken Duke question. Can anyone, I mean, the guy won by 30 pounds. Is there any shine taken off of it, of the fact that it was Lake Fork, they could weigh in slot fish and it was catch, weigh, release, and they only brought 1 in? Is there any, do you put an asterisk next?
No,
Okay.
because everybody had the opportunity to do the same thing.
Okay, 100% agree.
Yeah, it was a level playing
So
field.
75-2, 104-12, and you're talking about Keith Combs, who was Keith Combs and Lee Livesey and a number of others were the favorites going into that for sure.
Yeah.
And Patrick Walters just dummied them. I mean, they didn't even have a damn chance. And it was over in like the first hour and a half every morning. It's not like Walters was like, oh, I needed that. I mean, the last day, it took him a little while to get going. But like, you're watching this thing going, this is like UConn's women basketball. 30 pounds. I mean, 29 and change.
Yeah.
And then couple that with the fact that he just won the Open on Hartwell. Walters, his fish, it's very interesting. You look at him. I mean, you look at the what he got. Did he win the Rookie of the Year last year?
I don't
I
know.
think he might have. Anyway, you look at what he did last year. He finished 16th. I don't think he won the Rookie of the Year.
Yeah, look at the
In
YouTube
40 tournaments,
comments.
he has 4 wins, though.
Yeah. Look at the YouTube comments. Somebody is saying Kentucky Lake FLW 2018. And then several people on the instant feedback and on the YouTube comments said that the previous highest
Drew Cook.
margin of victory was 15 pounds.
Yeah. This is 30 pounds.
Oh, it's insane, man.
30. He did not have to fish on the final day.
Nope.
He could have won up Timmy Horton and had breakfast and lunch brought to the dock. He could have had breakfast pizza brought to the dock and been like, pepperoni, let's do eggs and bacon.
Yeah. Yeah. It was impressive, man. I was really intrigued by what I saw. Now, here's the thing. Some people might say, I didn't want to watch that. You already had it in the bag. Dude, I wanted to watch it because I wanted to see what he was doing. And I had never seen anything like that before from a margin of victory.
Here's the thing that you have to remember. The dude was down by 4 pounds after the day one.
Yeah.
And what's lost in this is, man, this was Rick Clunn show for first day.
Which was cool.
How about this? I don't really understand this. I think he's got some Japanese company or some company anyway. He's got this like Kong Shad deal. It's like his top secret square bill that he's been working on. It's like bigger than a 3.5, but smaller than like the Meg square bill. And he goes out and he catches 29 pounds off one dock. And this has a classic berth that goes with it. And it's in Texas where Rick got his start down there on Lake Conroe. And it's like, dude, could this be? I mean, he's got the swaggy jersey on with like the flannel checkerboard on the sleeves. He's chucking this big square bill. And then it just like flipped. And Walters was like, I'll just go 27, 29, 20, 22.
Hey, the way that he was catching him was so entertaining.
Did he lose any big ones on that? Or
I don't know. We'll ask
every
him.
time I saw him, he was landing like he had
The
12
9-pounder.
fish that were barely hooked that he was landing.
Yeah, the 9-pounder, the 8-pounder. It was so entertaining to watch. It was good stuff, man.
100%.
Yeah, especially with a jerkbait. And that might be the new all-around every season,
No,
every
it's
way.
Still the chatterbait.
Well,
So here's the deal we got to get back to. So we had Yusuke that COVID kept him from finishing the season. You had Kelly J, who did not finish the season, and then also Mark Menendez, who took the medical exemption. So really you had 85 guys. Now, if you look at the Angler of the Year cut line, it's at 39.
Yeah.
Which I thought it was at 40. And I've been looking. I can't figure out what the deal is with this. And I had a conversation with Dan O'Sullivan of Advanced Angler and
You got some double qualifiers.
Bucks Island Marine, which I'll continue to promote for the massive hope at Neely Henry. So if it is only 39, you have Hank Cherry, who won the last Classic.
Does he get an automatic berth?
He automatically gets invited back to the next Classic. So that would be one double qualifier.
Yeah.
Then you have Patrick Walters winning an Open.
He's like
That
a
would
triple
be
qualifier.
2 double qualifiers. And you have Patrick Walters winning Bass Fest.
Yeah.
That would be 3 double qualifiers because Patrick Walters is already in the Classic cut.
Yeah.
So then that would drop it to Bill Lowen, Brandon Cobb, and Shane LaHue, right?
Correct.
Which would be 42. Now, I thought originally it was 40, which would then drop it down to Keith Combs, who then would have made it by 3 points. But Keith Combs is one less than Shane LaHue in 43rd, and he finished second in the tournament. So if there's only 3 double qualifiers at this time, unless I'm overlooking one that I don't believe I am, Keith Combs has to hope someone wins one of the last 2 Opens who's already in the Classic and has fished all of the Opens.
Yeah.
Which is coming up on Lake Louisville. How did I forget the name of the lake that's coming up in a week and a half?
I don't know.
And then Lay Lake in December. So I'm sure as the smoke clears, there'll be more clarity on the qualifiers and double qualifiers and whatnot. Because, I mean, you're dealing with 3 to 6 points there between Benton, Lowen, Cobb, LaHue, and Combs. And all of them, that meant all of them had a key fish this past week that got them into the 2021 Bassmaster Classic.
Yeah. I believe that Combs is on the bubble, though. He is the bubble boy.
Ronnie said Combs is the bubble boy.
Yeah, well.
I'll tell you what, if Ronnie says it now, as long as
right.
He's probably right. There was a time back in the day where it might not have been right, but Ronnie is kicking ass and taking names over
He's
there
got
at
it
Bass
dialed in,
between what
man.
he's doing with the Open and what he's doing and all this.
He's dialed
Real
in.
quick, I know the music is running, but Chris
Yeah.
Jones, we got to put this in context before we have him on, because I hate like pumping the guys up while they're on. You can keep it going because
All
it's
right.
cool. We'll play a little trivia. This is Chris. So there's like 6 Chris Jones that fish. So if you want to look him up, you have to look up Chris M. Jones on Bassmaster, and then if you want to look him up on FLW, you have to look up Christopher Jones, or else you end up with another dude from Oklahoma or some dude from Kentucky.
Right.
I think there's also one in South Carolina.
Probably somewhere else, too.
How many wins with Bass and FLW does Chris Jones have
4.
combined?
4?
6.
That was close.
He's got the 2 Open wins, and then he has a Toyota Series on Grand, and 3 BFL wins. Career earnings between both circuits. Christopher Jones or Chris M. Jones.
I don't
or
have
Chris
it pulled
Jones,
up. I'm going to guess 300,000.
Very close. 200,000 on FLW, 125,000 on Bass, so 325,000. He has
dead on there.
4 top 10 finishes in 17 events and 24 top 10 finishes in 82 events. So roughly 1 out of every 4 events, he's finishing in the top 10, and he's obviously dominant on. Like my co-angler on day 2 said, grimy fisheries. Grimy days. Grimy. If it's a grimy tournament, Chris Jones will be in the top 10.
Yeah.
So there's your who's who on Chris Jones.
All right. Going to take a break, come back with Chris Jones. Everybody stay tuned on a Monday.
The ultimate fishing system starts with Lowrance HDS Live. The best fish finding tools, from chirp sonar and fish reveal to side scan and down scan imaging, and complete touchscreen control from your trolling motor to your big motor.
We've paired one of the most iconic hulls in the history of bass boats with a proven lineup of trusted accessories. We're bringing you best-in-class value and performance, leaving others in your wake. Turnkey value, turnkey performance. The Pantera 2 is an overachiever in the 19-foot category. Once you hit the throttle, you'll feel the rush, and there's no looking back.
Kevin, what are you doing here?
Oh, I'm just filling in for Billy.
I need a 660 shad crankbaits in the Series 5 model.
We're out.
You're not out. You got all kinds of them right there.
We're out.
Kevin, I need 6.
Have a lollipop.
I do not want a lollipop.
Have a lollipop.
Do you have it in sexy shad color?
Let's face it, fishing electronics are no longer an afterthought. They've become a necessity. And at the Bass Tank, our experts match you with the right electronics, provide professional installation, and educate you to help maximize your catching results while providing support along the way. Because let's be honest, it's about catching, not just fishing. And when you're ready for better results, join the Bass Tank team. Visit us today on Facebook or go to thebasstank.com.
Hey everybody, Todd Faircloth here. Want to show you one of my favorite braided lines, SX1 30-pound Sunline braid. I use this braided line for a couple of different applications, and one of my favorites to use for this line is a swim jig. Casts great, and it's small diameter, and just works really great on a swim jig. Another technique I like to use for 30-pound SX1 Sunline braid is whenever I'm flipping like a light, say an 1/8 to a 1/4 ounce weight in grass, small diameter, I don't lose much action on my worm, just works great in those scenarios. So if you're looking for a braided line for a swim jig or fishing a light Texas rig, check out Sunline's SX1 30-pound braid.
AFCO's new Yuri performance shirts are made out of a new fabric. Aeromesh technology, Aeromesh fabric, really breathable. You know, it just doesn't stick to you whenever you're sweating. It's 105 in Florida. You know, you got sun beating down, there's hardly any wind. You know, your shirt won't stick to your back or anything like that. Any little breeze gets through it, and all the AFCO features that you like with the hood, not without a hood, depending on which one you like. It's got odor technology, so your pits don't stink whenever you're sweating. It has thumb loops. So whenever you're driving down the lake, 70 miles an hour on a bass boat, you got the thumb through here, sleeves won't roll up, so you have no excuse if you get sunburned. Any little breath of air gets through you and cools you down, so make sure you check them out. Any fish, any water, any conditions, AFCO has you covered. professional angler, you've got so many things on your mind. Any advantage that we have is key. And not only rods and reels and lines and baits, but in our clothes. And the guys at AFCO, I mean, they have something for every situation. There's nothing AFCO hasn't thought about with the fishermen in mind. It's designed for fishermen, by fishermen, for every scenario you can come to. Any fish, any water, any condition, AFCO has you covered.
Yeah, you care about gear ratios, inches per turn, and ball bearings, but most importantly, you want reliability and dependability in the equipment you use. Lew's doesn't cut corners when it comes to the gear they build. The new Speed Spool LFS is the best $99 reel in the market. Go see for yourself.
The name Spro says it all. Spro stands for Sports Professionals. When you look at the pro staff that Spro has brought on board over the past 15 years, it's been pretty incredible. I mean, one got it just then. From the development of the rock crawler to the McStick, from the Fat Papa to the Little John series, when you tie a Spro bait on, you know it's been designed by a professional to get the job done.
All right, we are back on a Monday, kicking off the week. It is time to go to our special guest via the Sunline Hotline. Let's see if I can get the buttons for us to hear. Chris, you there, man?
Yes, sir.
How are you?
I'm doing good.
Well, it's about time we got you on the show, man.
It is. Past due. You know, Oklahoma guy that got forgot about.
That's not true. That's not true.
Explain how it worked out. We were at Neely Henry, and Brad was on last week and kind of went for the story. Y'all were having a couple Diet Cokes, and we're like, why the hell has Chris not been on BTL yet? Brad said, that's a good question. Let's call up Mark Jeffries right now and ask him.
They called me
That's exactly how it went, too, because the question got brought up. We was talking about Bass Zone and how y'all was killing it. And somebody said, how did Chris not been on the show? And I said, I don't know. I just never been asked. And I said, I'm not one to ask. But, you know, there was like 7 or 8 Oklahoma guys. I think every Oklahoma guy besides you, because you were out busy catching fish like none of the other rest of us was doing very good. You know, the rest of us was all sitting around having a Diet Coke and talking about our sorrows of not catching fish. And y'all got brought up, and that's how it basically went down. And Bradley called Jeffries right on the spot and put him on the spot about it. So
yeah, I was on speakerphone. He was calling me out.
Yeah,
in front of everybody.
He was.
So no, man. We eventually we would get you on. Hence, that's why you're on today. So I think a lot of people across the nation don't realize how much of a stick that you are, not just on the Oklahoma lakes, but really you have the game that kind of fits to a lot of the places that you guys hit in the opens. Why do you think that is?
You know, I'm kind of like what Matt said earlier before y'all went to commercial. Just seems like I've grew up fishing the river, and you know those rivers seem to be tougher. The guys that excel. I mean, if you look at, I don't know, there's several guys, but Stephen Browning's the dominant one of the Central Opens by far, in my opinion, and he's a river guy. You know, it's about every one of the places we go. 2 of the 3 places will be river systems. And they're just grinders, shallow water, Oklahoma fishing, you know, spinnerbait, square bill. Cody Bird's another one, you know, that's just back end of the creeks, hard to get to areas. Me and Cody's fished around each other about, I don't know, half the time I've been out there. So he's been doing it a lot longer than I have, but that's just the kind of places that we look for. And you know, they excel, I guess.
Chris, you won the. Dude, it seems like so much has gone on because they packed so many tournaments into the last three or 4 months. But it was what, June, July, August, September. Like it was like 4.5 months ago that you win. It was the second Open that you've actually won on the Arkansas River. The first one back 2012 or 2013. But
13.
Yeah, 13.
Yes.
But dude, you're in the Classic. You're leading the points. was your goal going into this, hey, it's on the Arkansas River, I'm going to fish them all because I know I've got a good chance to win it? Did you fish them with the hopes of qualifying for the Elite Series? I mean, I know you fish a lot at the, I guess, super regional level and have a great sponsor portfolio. I mean, is the goal here Elite Series or just, hey, let's keep this rolling and just pop and open and fish a couple classics every now and then?
If we could keep fishing classics, I would keep staying here. You know, me and Dale Hightower, he was one of them that was there that night. You know, he said it best. Once you've been to the Classic or the Super Bowl or whatever you want to call it, you want to spend your life trying to get back there. And nobody understands it until you've done it. I've been fortunate and fished the Forcewood Cup, a couple All-Americans. You know, I've fished everything that they are as far as bass fishing goes. But the Super Bowl is the Bassmasters Classic. There's nothing like rolling through the smoke, music jamming, arena hopefully packed out with this COVID stuff. But anyway, hopefully that's the deal. But yeah, I mean, I'm not going to say I wouldn't fish the Elite. I've turned it down one other time, and I turned down, the FLW Tour a couple times. My deal is I've always promised my wife and kids that I would never do it on my money or my earnings. If the sponsorships come about to where at least half or 3/4 of my entry fees was paid, I'd probably give it a roll. It's not going to happen this year because the last two tournaments, Rayburn and Neely, pretty much threw a kink in that scenario. But yeah, I mean, I would definitely want to do it. I've always wanted to do it one year, and I don't know if I would make a career out of it just because I'm kind of a homebody and like to be home with my family. And if they could do it and travel with me, great. But man, it's so hard to be away from home for 2 or 3 weeks straight. I mean, I know everybody does it, but I just like my kids and my wife, and it's hard to be away from them that long.
We'll get into the rest of the stuff, but I want to go back. So I got a buddy who drew you in one of the last couple opens that you fished on the Arkansas River, and you had like a big bag in it. And he said, dude, this is no joke. He's like, we drove. Then we drove some more. Then we went some places. He's like, then I got disoriented. Then he's like, I said, dear God, he's not going to run that, is he? And then you ran it. And then you idle for a long way. He said, and all of a sudden, he's like, it was like you were teleported into like the land before time. It opened up. It was this mecca. He said there were birds chirping. There were fish busting. There were all sorts of types of grass that didn't exist anywhere else. And you promptly went in and caught 17 pounds and then left. He said it was like the Twilight Zone fishing with you. And that no one else was around there. And he's like, dude, if someone gave me $1 million, I couldn't even tell you where or what it was. My question is, we're seeing a lot of advancement with the video stuff and all this stuff and people following and live on the final day and some events and stuff. How have you been able to keep such sneaky places on the Arkansas River too for 10, 15 years, where it seems like at will you can go back and just like crack 15 pounds out of here whenever the heck you want to?
Well, good fortune, I guess, because, if I would have been in the top 5, they would have had a camera on me, and I was in 6th, I think. I don't know. Those places are so hard to come by. It's one thing to go catch them offshore structure and somebody see you out there, and I don't think that's right for somebody to still hold you up, but I mean it happens every day. The hardest thing to do though is find something on the river and keep it a secret for. And I'm not saying it's secret. I'm not the only one that fishes these places. I mean, there's other guys that do, but it's just lined up for me to be able to catch them in the right tournaments. I mean, just like the Saturday, the last day. I mean, I've said it. It was my day to win because the weather come in. Let me back up. The open in June, we'd had severe rains, torrential rains. The river was running hard. The area that I caught them on the last day that I had the 19 pounds, everybody and their dog had practiced in there. But it was bluebird, sunny, no wind, the worst conditions for a swim jig bite they are. Fast forward, I make the cut. Saturday morning, the cloud cover, the misty rain, the wind. Those fish hadn't bit for 4 days and maybe a week. and every one of them wanted to chew that morning, and that's basically what it was. I've literally caught 33-pounders, 3 to 5 pounders, and lost a big one in 2.5, 3 hours. It was just one of those epic days that you dream about. I woke up that morning and go, I wish that it could be like it has been so many times I've been over here, and it was probably better than most times that I've ever been over there. It was just one of those days.
The Bassmaster Classic field now taking shape. You've had a lot of time to think about it. You know who you're fishing against. You're in it. Have you been down to Texas to take a look at that fishery, or are you just going to roll with it in 2021?
No, I'm actually when we go to Louisville, we ain't 8 or 10 miles from it. I'm actually going to swing by there and probably just run the lake. And I've heard that it's hard to navigate and got a lot of stand timber. I don't know. I've never seen it before in my life. I'm going to go look at it, just drive around it on my way down to Louisville, and then go to Louisville and practice and give it all there. But I'm going to make a couple more trips before off limits. And then, it's one of those deals. It's springtime. We all know that they're going to be on I'm sure it's going to be a spawning deal going on. I ain't looked at the moon phase or nothing, but it's end of March, Texas. There's going to be some giants caught. So, it's basically, I'm just going to run the lake and basically get a lay of the lake and how to navigate it, basically, before I go to Louisville.
There you have it. Chris, I'm curious. We've had the discussion on this show numerous times about fishing history. What is your take? Can fishing history hurt you, or would you rather go to a place just like what you're getting ready to go to in Ray Roberts, really not having a lot of history? What would you prefer?
A little of both. I mean, knowing the history of the lake or a spot or how they generally catch them, and in that given springtime or whatever you want to say, it helps you. I mean, to know the depth to start looking, the water clarity, the size of the fish that live in there. But at the end of the day, you still got to go catch them yourself. It doesn't matter about the history. So, it's a bass. I've had great outcomes from Texas. I went to the Amistad, first time I'd ever seen Amistad, and finished 13th, caught 8-pounder. In the Open, I think it was a 14. It was the week before I went to the Classic at Guntersville. And then, I went to Rayburn the first spring tournament I'd ever been there and caught a 10-pounder. The bad part is both of those come on a Flash Mob A-rig, which we can't throw in the Classic. But Texas Fisheries has been good to me, so maybe I can figure out how to catch a couple of them 8s and 10s for the Classic and bring it home for the Oklahoma guys.
Now, I don't know if you can talk about it, but what is your full-time occupation? What do you do?
I'm a CNC programmer in a machine shop in Fort Smith.
Okay.
We work 4 10s, and I've got the luxury. I work for a great employer that let me off pretty much when I want to. That's the other thing. It's hard to throw a great job away that lets you be off and have the luxury of working and making good money to be able to go and do what I want to do. So it's hard to throw that away and start over to go chase a dream like the Elite Series without great sponsors. That's just the hard part. It's a decision that everybody has to make, but I'm still going to have the right help to be able to do that,
Absolutely. All right, one more question, Matt, and then you can ask him. I'm curious, man. You are a superstar shallow angler. You fish in the river, kind of like Ed Barton, and we all know Ed Barton.
Yep.
What is your electronics game like? Because we had quite the discussion at the beginning of the show. Is that something that you need to get better at? Do you feel comfortable with it? Or is it something that you really need to up your game?
Oh, I'm absolutely comfortable with it. And I'm sponsored by Garmin, which is the Live Scope, and I've got one. Love it. I actually won a boat last weekend at Washita, and every fish we caught come from 15 to 25 foot offshore fishing. So, it was basically, I just wish these guys would quit letting it out of the bag, because it's a game changer, especially for suspended fish. That's the deal that nobody's talked about. It's not for it's just like the A-rig. I don't bite it all the time. It's just the same way with the electronics. They don't help you at every game. If I'm on the river, I hardly ever turn it on. You can't see in 3 foot of water with it, or less. But whenever we go to fisheries that are clear, standing timber, the fish are suspended. This time of year for sure in the fall, they're chasing bait. Yes, it's a game changer. You got to have a live scope, 100%.
You still trying to sell that boat that you won? Because I mean, this is a good platform if you're looking to move that sucker.
Absolutely. I've got a 178 Ranger with it's either a 60 or 75. The certificate says both, so we don't know which motor's on it yet. Electronics, batteries, it's ready to go. If somebody needs a good crappie boat, or nobody buys it that lives around here close, because it'd be a good boat to get in some of them backwaters on the river, though, and fish gets.
Reach out to you on social media.
Yeah.
Okay. What now?
I said reach out to you on social media if people are interested in that.
Yeah. Yes, it's Chris Jones. You can message me or anything like that, you know.
How many Chris Joneses are there?
A bunch.
I don't know. You know, there's the Chris Jones that does the commentating for FLW. There's a good friend of mine that actually his mom and dad owns a machine shop that I work for, Chris Jones. And then there's me. I don't know. There's several of us that are in the fishing industry, and it's true. It's crazy. That's why my name is the way it is. And I'm fixing to switch that to Chris M. Jones at FLW. I've talked to them. We just ain't done it. That way it's all the same. But it's kind of confusing.
We call him like tall Chris Jones. Chris Jones, that's how like we all differentiate like around here.
Hey,
Bradley, and most people's got me in his phone under contacts as tall Chris Jones. Yeah.
That's honest truth.
Yeah.
Like Chip will call you see tall Chris Jones caught him. Oh, cool.
Yeah, that's funny. hey, Chris, I'm gonna my last question, and there's so many anglers that have fished in the state of Oklahoma and eastern Oklahoma. So many iconic guys that have fished in eastern Oklahoma that have fished professionally, but who would you say is probably the most iconic guy that has fished in eastern Oklahoma? And you know them all, and take your name out of the mix, but 20, 30 years there have been so many guys that are just absolute sticks from eastern Oklahoma. Who would you say is probably the best stick?
The best or the most iconic? Because that's two different deals.
Give us both.
Yeah. Okay, the iconic to me would be Jimmy Houston. I mean, he's been around forever, and he's had TV shows and forever. And when I was a kid, I remember getting up more than watching him, and then watching Bass Masters on TNN, and that's just where it got started. Hank Parker, all of them. But if you want to talk about the best that's ever played the game, in my opinion, the last name would have to be Christie, I guess. I mean, I've been fortunate enough to be in the boat with him several times. I fished with his uncle Chooch 5 or 6 years. I know the whole family. They're as good as gold. They're quiet, and a lot of people take him the wrong way, I think. But I mean, he's absolutely a good guy. He come over and eat with us at Neil Henry, and it was a pretty good. It was almost like the old BFL days when everybody was still fishing them. I mean, I still fish them, but I mean, whenever Bradley and we was all sitting around just reminiscing, about how many good times we had. That we miss those days. I think everybody does. But yeah, I mean, it's hard to say that Jason. I mean, he ain't never won a Angler of the Year as far as elite or the Classic. Edwin. I mean, I'd say Edwin's in that. I mean, I don't know how many guys you want me to keep naming. I mean, there's so many guys that has never fished like me, that's never fished at that level that could compete with them. I don't know. Look at like Chris Torkelson. I mean, he's won so many tournaments at Grand in the fall. I don't know. I can keep going on and on. Bradley. I mean, I hate to put one on there, but to me, iconic would be Jimmy Houston, just because he's been around forever. But if you want to say the best, it's hard to say that Jason ain't, because he's won everything at every level. You know what I mean? Besides the Classic.
Did you have a mentor on the river? Like how did you just go out and ruin lower units and props until you figured it out? I mean, how do you get good at it?
Well, my dad fished. Remember when they impounded it? When the trees got flooded, and that was in like 70 or 71, and I think he was like 20. And then I fished with my dad growing up we won a bunch of tournaments and stuff. And then he done a bunch of work down in Jackson, Mississippi his last 4 or 5 years and couldn't fish. Jason called, long story short, Jason called one night. The year that he won the Railback Championship to kind of lead his tournament in, he called from Lady Ozarks on the final day, and him and Charlie had a Fishers of Ed Championship the next day on Saturday. And Charlie called at like 10 o'clock, and me and him had already been in a boat with each other, and me and him went and finished in the top 10. And the next year we won a Fishers of Men tournament, and we'd won a bunch of stuff. But long story short, that's basically, so I've had my dad mentored me, and I'd already won a BFL and some other team stuff around on the river. And then I fished with Charlie for 4 or 5 years, and you know, they both had different aspects, but we fished a lot of the same stuff. We'd always see each other, run into each other, and fishing the same stuff. So, but yeah, I mean, obviously that's how you get better. And in my opinion, kids growing up, the BFL and draw tournaments are the way to not learn spots on the fisheries, but how people approach those spots and what baits they throw and little techniques like twitching your spinnerbait or, you know, shaking your swim jig or whatever. But I mean, those kind of things are how guys learn, and do it the right way is to go fish with as many great fishermen you can fish with, not stealing spots. I'm going to say that again, not stealing spots or taking spots, but learning how they approach those given areas and when to fish those areas.
All right, man, I have one more question. Do you have anything else, Matthew?
No, I'm good.
I have one more question, and this might get me in trouble, and hopefully it won't get you in trouble. But if you had a Mount Rushmore of guys that fish on the Arkansas River,
oh, that's a good one.
Would Ed Barton be on that mountain? Yes or no?
125%. Yes.
Well, you can't just ask one guy. Give all five.
No, I wanted to know about Ed.
Okay.
First, and then who would the other 3 guys be?
3 guys?
How many are on Mount Rushmore? 5?
Oh man, I don't want to answer this. You just
4,
asked me a simple question that I can answer real easy. Ed is one of the best river fishermen I know.
Yeah.
I'm not going to put 3 guys in there because there's probably 23 guys that needs to be on that list. That's good river fishermen.
Right.
Smart answer.
That's a good answer.
If you want to look at the list, just go to Oklahoma River Rat and look at the past winners and past history of the Oklahoma River Rat. There's a lot of guys, including myself, Jason Christie, Charles Christie, Duck Christie, Kevin Christie. There's a whole bunch of Christies on that list. But, Chuck Reestein. There's tons of guys on that list that grew up fishing the river, and they fished it every week. And that little niche of the river rat guys is how guys like myself have gotten good at fishing the river, because they fished it every 2 weeks. And if you fished it every 2 weeks, then you figured out where these guys was catching fish at, or what area of the lake was turned on at this time of the year, or whatever. And I just kind of kept mental notes of that, of, you know, when they would be on the wood or rock or grass or, you know, on the sand drops or whatever you want to say. And there's just certain times of the year. That's what's weird about a river system. It's just certain times that, and I figured that out on the river, and that's how lakes are too. You just kind of got to figure out what area of the lake is firing, because that river, there's certain areas of that river that fire in certain times, and the other time you can't get a bite there. You're like, where's these fish at? And then that's the craziest part about river fishing that could never figure out, and I still ain't figured it out.
Dude, you're pretty good, dude.
This also might be another question you don't want to answer. Knowing that you like to fish yard, do you have a difficult time selling your boat? Because I say this, dude. I fished the Open. I put 9 days on it. Then I fished the ABA. I just detailed the boat again yesterday to get ready for the final Open, and I probably got a solid cup of sand out of the carpet that's been in there since the Open in June when I got stuck and put it all on the back deck.
Yeah, I mean, no, I clean it. I lop it down every time. You know, whenever you know the river, you know what you can run and can't run. I'm not saying I ain't got a few scratches on the bottom or whatever, but it's not like I'm going to go stump jumping every day, because I kind of know how to get in and out of most areas. And I've got a 17-foot bass tracker that I practice out of if I'm going to the river, that's what I'm in usually, unless I'm in a tournament where I can't, you know, use it. But I use it more than anything just because I don't like to beat my boat up that I sell every year.
Yeah.
But no, I don't have any trouble selling it, man.
There you have it.
I've seen Terry Butcher seniors. It took him like six days to detail
Hey,
it.
there's 2 more names you got to put on the list as far as great Oklahoma guys. See what I mean?
Oh, yeah.
If I let somebody out, it's not because they're not important. It's because it's an endless name.
Yeah.
I mean, it's a who's who's. If you can fish here, you can compete against anybody. That's no doubt.
Yeah. Did you ever fish against Jim Carnell?
Oh yeah.
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 He's
Carnell
another one.
Yeah. And hey, Kippy and Carnell, and which was a sad deal. You know, Kippy,
Yeah.
Kippy just went to
–
above last week.
Yeah.
That's crazy. May Haffey. I mean, all them guys are great Oklahoma guys. I mean, you know, they've been around forever. You know, won a lot of boats. Took a lot of money.
All right, man. Well, we're going to let you get back to work. But, dude, congratulations on a very successful year, and we wish you nothing but the best going into the Classic.
Thank y'all. Thanks, Matt. Thanks. Mark.
I'll see you next week.
Yeah. Good luck in Louisville.
See you down there next week, Matt.
All right.
Yep. Sounds good.
All right, man.
All right, man.
Take
See
care.
y'all.
See you.
You too.
All right, there you have it, Chris Jones. Good dude, man.
That would be the most intimidating duo to come around the corner and see in a backwater that you plan on fishing after you make a 30-mile
Who's that?
Chris Jones and Jason Christie, both on the front of a deck in a small backwater. You come around the corner and both of them just look at you and don't say anything. What do you do, Mark? Do you say, hey, boys, you want the left or the right side?
Yeah.
Or do you just
turn
around and leave?
Yeah. Do you remember O.T. Fears?
Yeah.
He's from that area, too.
Yeah.
A lot of people forget about him.
Yeah.
Won the All-American.
Yeah.
And fished on the FLW Tour for a number of years. You put Tommy in that category? Eastern Oklahoma? Biffle? You have to, don't you?
Yeah, 100%.
So, man, it is just amazing how many great anglers come out of Eastern Oklahoma. And there was a run there.
OT's from Salisaw.
Yeah. There were a number of years there, the run that Arkansas had on the number of anglers that were enormously successful from Arkansas. So, good stuff, man. Glad.
Darryl Robertson, you going to throw him in there?
You have to.
You got to throw Darryl Robertson in.
Yeah.
You guys won the Cup. Didn't he win like $1 million and all that? He's still catching them.
Yeah. Yeah, Edwin.
Well, yeah.
You got Edwin in that, but, and there's so many guys, just like we talk about Ed and we talk about some of the other guys that have never fished on a national level.
It's probably like,
but they could.
It's got to be like that in every state, is
I
it?
would
Or is
think.
Oklahoma like a unique thing where there's a lot? I mean, the Sean Goodwin.
Yeah.
I haven't even mentioned that.
But he's not Eastern Oklahoma.
Right.
I mean, he's not one of those guys that fish
Or is that
every
a
single week.
unique part of the country? Just like maybe that North Alabama is, where you had like the Russ Lane and the Jamie Hortons.
And the Carolinas. I think the Carolinas are
There's
unique.
a couple. Who's the other guys in Alabama that have won? God, I apologize.
That haven't moved there?
No, yeah, that fish regionally, kind of like Chris Jones, but just absolutely dominate that TVA system.
Yeah.
And
Buddy
have made
Gross?
no, I'm talking about the guys that like Jamie Horton's team partner. They've made Bass Nation championships and all won hundreds of tournaments up there.
Yeah.
So I think that's another unique part of the country. I think, like you said, the Carolinas,
the blueback,
100%. That's a unique part. And then I think there's you got to go down into Louisiana, into the Bayou, the Atchafalaya Basin. All that type of stuff down there. There's another group there, and then East Texas, 100% East Texas.
Yeah. I think you go West Coast too. The guys on the Delta.
Yeah.
I mean,
you got
that's
like
definitely
Ken Ma and well, I'm just going to name one because I don't know enough. But there's all the same names that you see whenever there's a tournament out there.
On the Delta.
So there's 5 or 6 different regions. But would you not say
I
that
think
region
there's
of
probably
Oklahoma
8 regions.
is one of them?
Oh, it's iconic.
Yeah.
It really is. The number of guys.
Well, yeah, you got to add, I see it on here, East Tennessee. The Crankers.
Yeah.
The East Tennessee. You've got the deep, clear lakes. You've got smallmouth out there. You've got the spotted bass.
Yeah. And you can do the same thing up north specifically for smallmouth, but just from a largemouth / Kentucky.
Oddly enough, the Central Illinois group is getting left out.
Who would that be? Charlie Hartley?
No, that's Ohio.
Oh yeah. That's
Illinois, off the top of my head, we got Doc Merkin up by Chicago. Remember him? The vet?
Morgan Taylor was from
Chad
Illinois.
Morgan Taylor, big time Illinois guy. Chris Gross from Illinois right now. There's a couple different guys that have made a little bit of a run at it from Illinois, but as far as
hard to place to come out of though.
I'm trying to
fishing.
think. It would have to be Chad, especially the way he's fishing. I mean, Chad has made a full
Now he
career
relocated.
out of it.
He lives at
to
Table
Missouri,
Rock now.
but he's still an Illinois guy.
Yeah. No, I agree. But good stuff, man. And he's a stick, and he falls in that category.
It
All
is.
right.
He definitely should
Is
have
there really?
been on way before.
Call me stupid. I thought there were 4 presidents on Mount Rushmore, not 5.
Yeah, there very well could be. Have you ever
What
been
is
there?
it? Yeah, I have. Really cool place.
Somehow I ended up in Chrome settings when I typed in Mount Rushmore. It's government, man. It's the government. Yeah, there's 4.
That's what I thought.
Can you name them?
Roosevelt.
Wait a second.
Lincoln.
Yep.
Washington.
Yep.
Oh, who am I leaving out? Roosevelt, Lincoln, Washington. Jeez. It's obvious, too, isn't it?
Well, it is because I'm looking at it.
Yeah,
right
the
now.
old age is kicking in here.
Thomas
It's not-
Jefferson.
Yeah.
So if you were to put the 4 for the Arkansas River, because you don't have anything to get in trouble for. Well,
Yeah.
you're obviously going to put Ed because he's your team partner.
Yeah.
So you want to make sure
Ed's
that
gotta
you get
be
a
on
spot in the back of the boat.
Yeah.
So Ed,
Christie,
Jason,
Terry Butcher.
Yeah.
And 4th would probably be a throwback, which would be OT.
Okay.
OT Fears. I mean, he freaking, when he was young and the tournaments that guy won on the river. And I know there's some guys that don't get the exposure just simply because they dominate
Mhm.
the BFLs. And, Ron Shaw, maybe. Ron Shaw. Sean Goodwin, definitely needs to be in the conversation. But they don't reside in eastern Oklahoma. I'm talking about people
Are you
that
talking
live.
southeast? Because we didn't even get up into the Grand Lake. That's more northeast.
Yeah, no,
that's
it's
a whole
it's
different.
It's that Fort Gibson, Tin Killer,
Not the
Arkansas
Ozark,
River.
not the Ozarky guys.
Yeah.
The
grinders,
the grimy
the river
grinder river guys.
Yeah. So I don't know. Biffle too. I mean, Biffle can catch him on
Yeah,
the river.
yeah.
Big
you
time.
know, forget about Biffle. He's still catching them.
Anyway, so
And that
good
one-
show today. Want to thank Chris for being on there, and then I got to mention this, dude. You need to read this after the show.
Okay.
I want to let everybody know I have got a ton of emails that I've got to get back to you on, and I'm going to work on that today in class because my class is working on 2 video projects. So I'll have a chance to hopefully get back to a number of emails that I need to respond to. But this one, I can honestly say I do not recall getting an email from Botswana, which
Oh.
is in South Africa.
That's a hot spot of BTO listeners.
And it is a 5 or 6 page novel.
From Botswana?
Yeah.
Someone who's like stationed over there?
No, they live there. They live there.
I'm intrigued.
What? Yeah. And I'm just going to say this real quick. It says, please excuse the long thesis of an email because it's been in the works for some time.
Mhm.
And he tackles numerous topics. And his name is Vaughn. And I'm not sure what his last name is. But some compelling reading on his views on so many subjects. And also some information on some of the fishing that takes place in South Africa. So
I'll read it.
a great read. You need to read this, and we'll talk about it on
This
the
is
show
very
tomorrow.
interesting. So OT Fears, who you put on the Mount Rushmore of Arkansas River?
Eastern Oklahoma.
Eastern Oklahoma. Guess
Yeah.
how many, this is combined, top 10s he has on the Arkansas River with Bassmaster and FLW.
How many?
0.
Really?
Yeah.
Huh. I'm shocked by that. I really am. Shocked. Had no idea.
I bet there's been some epic fights in backwaters on the Arkansas River.
Oh, you know there
I
has
mean, we
been.
just kind
I mean,
of
heck,
beat
you
around the
almost
bush
got
with
into
Chris
one.
Jones, and Chris Jones like threw about 6 or 7 threats out there, veiled, hey, now I'm not talking about following me,
Yeah.
and I'm glad there wasn't a camera with me there, and I mean, but then you have Brad come in, who's like,
Yeah.
man, you want to get in some tense situations, be a creek fisherman.
Yeah.
So now you're a creek fisherman who's running 60 miles to your creek. And it's not like you can go in another creek or backwater area because
Yeah.
you only got 3 or 4 hours to I bet between that river rats deal, dude, I bet there's some epic I don't want to say fist fights.
Verbal scrums.
Some verbal scrums.
Yeah.
I mean, you want to do a 20 feet deep, get the river rats around the table and just turn a camera on for 2 hours of the best backwater Arkansas River confrontations. I got in one.
Yeah, Clay, it's not Jerry. It's not. It's some other guy, but you definitely need to read that, Matthew. All right, great show. I want to thank Chris Jones. Anything else, Matthew?
No, that's it. Like I said, we're somehow getting through this schedule that is just jam-packed.
Yeah.
I said, 2 things to watch this week after great Lake Fork is the All-American going on Lake Hartwell and the Bass Nation Championship. I actually saw Hellabass, Rich Lindgren, who I believe made it through Minnesota, fishing the tournament on Pickwick, so he must have been out there practicing, listening to the show.
That's cool. That's good stuff. Hey, tough lake.
Yeah, with the All-American on Hartwell, and then Pickwick isn't. I mean, it's not doing the guys any favors, but there's a big old smallmouth was in there.
Yeah, no, you're right. You're right. All right, man, great stuff. Tomorrow, Patrick Walters. Wednesday, Clark Wendelin. Thanks to Chris Jones once again, and that'll wrap up Monday. Everybody be safe on a Monday. That's it. We're out of here.